Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with the Spirit of Truth. The Spirit of Truth comes to us not only to bring the truth, but to set us free, free from our misunderstandings, misinformation. The truth comes, and we're free from our ignorance, and we're open to the experience of loving. When we talk about life, we talk about being merciful as well. It's something that we don't discuss much in our society because we still think that justice comes before mercy. But little by little, our planet is gravitating to a merciful justice. If we go to the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, in its third part, the laws of God, the divine or natural laws, we have the 10th law, the law of justice, love, and charity. Love and charity do not exist without justice, and the same, and the reverse is the same. When we read in that book, Kardec asking the spirits, so what is the definition of charity? They say, benevolence towards everyone, being of goodwill towards everyone, and indulgence towards people's imperfections, understanding them, and forgiving the offenses. Today, the story by Hilario Silva, named The Figurines, through the medium Chico, Xavier, and Waldo Vieira, brings to us an excerpt by Simeon in the Gospel according to Spiritism, forgiveness of offenses. By the way, did you know that every chapter, pretty much every chapter of this book, with few exceptions, we're going to find instructions of the spirits. Many people want messages from the beyond, but this is the message that you and I are being given today. Forgiveness of offenses. Have we forgiven people? Sometimes we have a hard time even forgiving ourselves, right? Do you have a hard time forgiving yourself? We do. But we need to work on it. It is possible. It may be difficult, but not impossible. Because we are constantly being surrounded by God's providence. And as you see in the background that we posted here for this program today, these lights represent to us the envelopment of God. Let us feel the deep envelopment, bringing to us the harmony that we need. Shall we? Yes. So important. And here we have in chapter 10, Simeon saying, how many times should I forgive my brother or sister? Not 7 times, but 70 times 7. This is one of Jesus' teachings that should strike your mind the hardest and speak to your heart the loudest. Now, at some other point, he says, O Spiritists, never forget that in words as well as in actions, forgiveness of wrongs must not be an empty expression. If you say you are Spiritists, then be so. Forget the evil that has been done to you and think of one thing only, the good you can do. Those who enter upon this path must not wander from it even in thought, because they are responsible for their thoughts that are known by God. Therefore, empty your thoughts of any sentiment of rancor. God knows what lies at the bottom of each one's heart. So happy are those who can go to sleep every night saying, I have nothing against my neighbor. Simeon. Forgiveness of offenses. And the story of Hilario Silva today. Are you ready? Because this story may be kind of dramatic, kind of funny, but deeply instrumental to boosting us the reason why we need to forgive. So Hilario Silva begins the story about the figurines by saying that there was a dialogue between two ladies, the mother and the daughter. And the mother said to the daughter, my daughter, you must forgive and forget. It says in the gospel that we usually see the speck in the neighbor's eye without seeing the beam in ours. But mom, come on, it was an insult. The boy stopped in front of the window, saw my figurines, and threw a stone. And then Mrs. Balbina, who was a spiritist lady with a generous heart, went on talking to her daughter, Miss Rogeria. He's a poor obsessed boy. And the daughter replied, nonsense, he's a wild beast. That's it. And then Mrs. Balbina, the mother, replied, but Mrs. Margarita is his mother, and she was always a friend of ours. And the daughter replied to the mom, that's besides the point, mom. Each person is responsible for their actions. You know, he's an adult. And the mom replied, we need to forgive in order to be forgiven. And the daughter replied, to be good is one thing, and another is to be a fool. I will complain to the police. I just didn't want to do it without hearing you. But Fabio and I are decided. My Fabio is already tired of driving. Poor husband. Money dug in a truck is hard to earn. My advice, daughter, is to forgive and forgive. And the daughter replied, but mom, the damage is $2,000. Of course, this is in Brazilian money, but we're just translating into our reality. And in addition to the injury, but the mom said, even so, forgiveness is always the best remedy, the medicine. And the daughter said, oh, what will become of the world without correction, without justice? And in that moment, somebody knocked on the door. So mother and daughter are talking. The mother is trying to convince the daughter to be forgiving. The daughter is resistant to forgiving. She wants justice. And then somebody knocks at the door. Both of them answer the door. And then somebody comes. A disaster. Mr. Fabio, the daughter's husband, drove into a house and the wall tumbled down. Mother and daughter ran to the place, which was already crowded. They saw the shattered house. It was precisely Mrs. Margarita's house, the mother of the boy who had thrown the stone. Fabio's truck was in the worst shape. It knocked over a side wall and got into the dining room furniture, destroying it. It caused a power outage in the street, and both women could hear Mrs. Margarita kindly saying with a candle that was lit during the night. Though mother and daughter could hear it, Mrs. Margarita didn't see them. And she said to the policeman, I ask you, please do not file any lawsuits. I do not want to make a complaint. And then the official said, but Mrs. Margarita, there will be laws, great laws. More than 40,000. Mrs. Margarita said to the policeman, no, it doesn't matter. God will find a way. Mrs. Mr. Fabio and Mrs. Rogeria are my longtime friends. The two ladies, mother and daughter, who were overhearing it, could not continue hearing it because Fabio's angry voice rose from the crowd, and it was necessary to help him because the unfortunate man was drunk. Unbelievable, right? Is Hilario Silva, in the name of the Spirit of Truth, telling us that we need to forgive and why? Yeah. Sometimes it's not about us, but somebody in our lives. And we want that family member of ours to be forgiven, life to be merciful, but we are not merciful. This is so interesting. It's a point of view we never take because usually we think it's only about forgiving us. We forgive others because we want to be forgiven. No, but because you want your loved ones to be forgiven too. And that's huge. It's huge. We do it because it's law of God, but we don't do it yet because we think in the wrong direction. What is the right direction? Hilario Silva is saying, none of us are blameless. None of us are flawless. And for those who feel so righteous, think about the other one, the loved ones. Maybe you are walking the talk, though we're not perfect yet, but loved ones are not. And if we're not forgiving, not forgetting, our loved ones do not receive it either. What an insight. What an insight. Hilario Silva brings to us the truth. The truth, like the lights that we're seeing here. That when we forgive, we unblock the pathway of our network. Not only ours, but everyone who is connected to us. Like in the story, the mother counseled the daughter to forgive. The daughter said, no, I'm not. My husband is driving the truck. We're tired. We lost some money. We're going to sue them. And then she didn't expect that her husband was drunk, caused an accident exactly at the house of the woman related to the man she wanted to sue. Another mother. And we see here mothers with good hearts, good mothers. This is also a message about good mothers. We're always counseling their children towards the good. You and I know that Mentor Joseph doesn't allow us to pass one program without giving tips to the parents. Why? Because it's the most important mission on earth. Parents and grandparents and educators. Right, friends? And here comes. Good mothers are not going to say, yes, sue them, do this. No, 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 no. Let's forgive, let's understand, let's give them a break. Especially in this case, it's about long-standing friendship. Friendship, when it's real, when it's true, it goes through experiences like this to solidify itself. And then one day, Mentor Joseph told me, Vanessa, did you know that lots of relationships today our preparations for good works tomorrow in another reincarnation as well. And then I asked for clarification. I asked Mr. Joseph, what do you mean? He said, today you may be working with certain people in the Spirit Center, at work, in your communities, and you're doing some works together tomorrow, in another reincarnation, in the future, even the far future. That was a rehearsal for even greater works together. So that's why we need to solidify friendships that sometimes are rocked by the earthquakes of life. But then we can go there and say, I'm still here. I forgive. There's no relationship on earth that doesn't need forgiveness. Why? Because we all make mistakes. Whether it's a relationship between parents and children, siblings amongst themselves, grandparents, children, grandparents, and they are very, um, and children-in-law, let's say this way. We are here to forgive friends. It's impossible to have a strong friendship without bypassing forgiveness, understanding, compassion, mercy. Because sometimes we expect things from people and we are frustrated in our expectations. And some people are hurt. They don't sustain a friendship for long. But to be able to withstand any relationship, we need to forgive. Sometimes our child says a word we don't like, and vice versa. But we forgive. And we need to tell our children, let us forgive, shall we? I forgive you. I'm sorry. It's important to say this. So, according to this call for forgiveness today, by the Spirit of Truth through Hilario Silva and the medium Chico, Xavier, and Waldo Vieira, you and I are being asked to exercise forgiveness in the next 24 hours. And you can exercise in so many ways by saying a prayer to the person you want to forgive, by writing a message you don't need to deliver, but you can rehearse the expression of it through writing, by visualizing forgiveness. In that way, we will march more steadily towards mastering forgiveness. Sometimes we don't forgive because we don't understand why people did that. But now Hilario Silva is saying it's not worth it. Because you and your loved ones are not flawless. You want forgiveness too for something that is even greater than that. Like what happens to Fabio. The destruction he caused by his accident when he was drunk was precisely, I will say, precisely 40, it was $40,000, let's say this way, versus $2,000 that they lost in the figurines that were broken, telling us that we have no idea. Like Rogeria, she had no idea. Now she's demanding justice, claiming for justice. She can't. You and I have a great homework to do, the exercise on forgiveness. Let's practice forgiveness in however way we want and we think it's effective. From a prayer to a letter to a phone call to an encounter, as safe as using a mask, of course, because of the pandemic, let us take that step to express in some way that we forgive. Shall we? We're very grateful for on high for allowing us to do this. And we'll finalize with a prayer. Let us raise our thoughts in gratitude. Thank you so much, dear God, for allowing us to be here, for this message by Hilario Silva, calling us to the cleansing of our minds and our hearts. We want to let go of that old, the grudge, and letting the new, the healing inside of us. We want to thank you and thinking of everyone on earth who is in great need of help. We visualize rays of healing light enveloping them in harmony and relief, so they feel your presence as we do as well, today and always, and so be it. It feels good and even better when we forgive. We'll meet you tomorrow. Probably we'll all be lighter tomorrow with less resentment, less grudges inside of our hearts, flying higher to really feel the glory of God. Thank you, friends. See you tomorrow.